Now we're on. We're good. Good morning, tech people. All right. It's an honor to be here with you today presenting because this is such a wonderful community. I'm so happy to be a part of it. We're people that share information with each other all the time. Here's some stuff that works. Do this thing. And more importantly, here's something that didn't work. Don't do it. But if you did, here's the fix. Go ahead and take it. Thank you. So I'm honored to be here to be able to pay it back with some of my knowledge to share with you today. And the story I have to share is one about management and leadership, because it was 12 years ago that I became a manager, and it was nothing I was looking to do at all. Not a bit. And through a series of events, the opportunity presented itself, and I took it. I took it. And I'll be honest with you, because we're honest with each other here, I was afraid. I was afraid not for my own failure. I'm sure I'm speaking to a room of people who are used to working with failure. That's the basis of our careers. Right? Take failure, we work with it. That's a day. No, I didn't want to fail the people that I was going to be leading. That was a really tough concept to get through. But there are three core concepts that helped me get started and helped me get comfortable with it. That's what I want to share with you. I learned how to manage myself, not change who I am, handle myself, because now I'm going to be representing a group of people. I also learned how to lead other people. And lastly, I learned how to lead up the chain. And that means talking to people high up in the organization. You know, your boss's boss or your boss's boss's boss, because there's an art to it. Right. To start the story of how this began 12 years ago, we have to wind back a little bit before 12 years ago, about 13, 14 years ago, when I was part of organizational restructuring. Oh, you've been through it too? Okay, shh. If you let people know it's fun, everybody's going to want to do it. All right? Yeah. You got to hang on. Wait for your turn. Okay, the reality is these things happen, right? There are good things that happen out of it and some not so good things. So the good thing for me is I was a developer at the time, and I found myself on a team with more developers from all around the university. So think of it if a subsection of us all got together. How great is that? It's good. We all get along. We share ideas. It's a wonderful time. That part was good. Now, at the top of the organization, where the leadership level, things unfortunately didn't seem to be as good. There seemed to be, well, a lot of friction, some fighting. You'd see it in meetings and hallways. It was kind of uncomfortable. And then the leadership started leaving. Slowly at first, and then pretty quickly. The good ones and the bad ones. And within a year, a lot of people were gone, including the person in charge of my team. That's when the opportunity presented itself. Because that's when my new teammates said, you got to do it. You need to be in charge of this team. My reaction was this. Why me? Yeah, why me? This is nothing I'm seeking to do. I'm perfectly happy here playing with this ball. I'm good. I don't need to do this. And there are a lot of jokes because we're a team. People are like, look, nobody else is going to want to do the job. Or the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, right? So lots of stuff going around. But it really got down to this. Knowledge and respect. I had a broad-based knowledge of the institution and a broad knowledge of our organization. And I also showed respect with that knowledge. Because as all our units came together, and as I learned bits and pieces about all of our units and how we operated, I showed respect. I wasn't pushing my own agenda. I was learning from each other. We were learning from each other. And I think that's very familiar to everybody in this room. No matter how long we've worked on something, if we see somebody else doing something similar, we'll go, oh, cool, let's look at that. That looks better. So I was always looking for the common good. So even though I didn't have managerial experience, the knowledge and respect I was showing, that was enough for a vote of confidence. So I said yes. That leads to this. Now remember, I set the base. We're in a time of chaos. And any of the mentors I used to have in that organization are gone. So who am I going to turn to for advice? Who's going to help me with those concepts of handling myself, leading others, leading up the chain? Well, turn to a friend of mine. We had actually met each other years ago at the University of Minnesota, right here, on a research project. She has an unusual job, and she handles an unusual team. She's an Arctic sled dog musher. True story. Don't worry, We didn't do research on the dogs. They pull the research equipment. These aren't racing dogs. They're freight dogs. Big guys. The one in the front, Chaco, he's 90 pounds. He's small. He's a little guy. Seriously, the sled weighs over 1,000 pounds. Now, my friend Milla, way in the back there, I never went to the Arctic with him. I went to Canada in the winter a few times, but that's a whole other presentation. So let's zoom in. I'll show you my friend Milla. There she is, hooking up Chaco, harnessing him up. I knew her from here at the training grounds, mostly in Minnesota, her farm where she kept all the dogs. She's harnessing him up, getting ready for a training run. You'll notice there's no snow on the ground. So way in the back behind her is a four-wheeler. They're going to pull that for practice. I know, gasp, that seems too easy, right? She leaves it in gear. They pull against the engine. That's how strong they are. All right. I also want to pause the story real quick for a moment. I want to make sure everybody is really comfortable with what I'm saying, because I'm going to be talking about these sled dogs. Two things you need to know. The first is these are healthy, happy dogs, very happy dogs. I know this firsthand from working with my friend for years on her farm, but also, watch Chaco closely, there he is again at my house. My wife and I would adopt these dogs when they retire, so I know this firsthand. I want you to rest assured that. The white dog beside him is a house dog. She's a Samoyed Spitz. She's about 70 pounds, just for scale. Those two knuckleheads together that's another story. The second thing is, you may just prefer cats. And guess what? I'm going to be talking about dogs. So, from now on, if it helps you, I really want to respect it, every time I talk about a sled dog, think of Jesper Puss the sled cat. That's right. And remember, you decide your future. You determine what you can do. All right, let's get back to the story. What did my friend, the musher, and the sled dogs teach me about handling myself, leading other people, and leading up the chain? Well, I started with handling myself. Here I am talking to my friend. I'm on her farm. She's got nearly 40 sled dogs. We're talking out. She's like, so what's bothering you? I'm like, look, and remember, I'm in a place of chaos right now. It's not a good place. And in my mind, from what I've observed from meetings and stuff, is I feel like I have to be pushy to represent my team. I have to be kind of a jerk, really, to push my agenda and get things done. And I'm telling you that, I'm like, that's not me. I'm not a fighter. I don't fight. And I said this, and it left my mouth. I said this to a professional woman that works and lives with sled dogs. I said, I'm not an alpha dog. I said that. And being my friend, she gave me the only appropriate response to that. She laughed in my face. That's what your friends do when you say something stupid. They laugh at you. And that snapped me back into reality. I had totally forgotten. I was so obsessed with it, I forgot everything. Because the deal is, alpha dogs don't fight. They never fight. Here she has 40 dogs. There's an alpha male and an alpha female. It starts with the alpha females in charge, and the alpha male goes down. They have a pecking order. They are chosen, those positions, by the other dogs. And they don't fight. They don't fight. A calm presence earns that respect. And their calm presence communicates. Sure, there are dogs that try to fight, but they don't get anywhere. Short-term gains, and then it's over. They never make it to the top. Now, to put it in context, in case you don't know any sled dogs, thinking about how this calm presence communicates, you can think of a house pet like a cat or a dog. If they're running around, meow, 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 bark, 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 what are you going to do? Come on, honestly. You're going to shut up. Stop it. But if they come up and they sit down quietly and they look at you, that's different. You're going to be like, what's up? Is somebody in the yard? Is there a fire? Did Timmy fall down the well? You're actually engaging with them. You're going to start giving them the answers even. They get your attention. That works. That works. So I take that with me back to meetings. It's a skill that still serves me well today. If somebody, and I'm not talking about if it's a passionate meeting, if we're all on the same page and everybody's engaging, that's great. Jump in, talk about it. But if you're up against, let's say it, some blowhard who's really pushing their agenda, you don't shut off, you don't look away, you listen. You listen. That pulls the energy out of the argument. Before you know it, they'll start giving you all the answers you want anyway, as they realize they're the only ones talking, And they'll start to kind of be like, well, they're puttering out. Well, I guess it's a budget issue, or you might need to send it up the chain. Yeah, perfect. Thank you for writing the notes for my email I will send back to you. Well, there's no budget for it, and we're going to have to send it up the chain. All right. But the base is calm presence. Next up, leading others. And again, this was a new concept for me. How do you lead others? I mean, I know it's not telling everybody what to do unless you're a micromanager. So what is it? Well, I've talked about the dog yard. Let's talk about how Mila assembles her dog team. Now that sled, it's over 1,000 pounds, right? It's loaded with supplies, research equipment. And the dogs are anywhere from 80 to 140 pounds. And it's got to be a coordinated effort to get that thing going, steer it, and of course stop it. Here are the 4 major positions on a team. Lead, point, team, wheel. Let me call off the dog function starting from the back. The largest dogs are in the wheel position in the back. You run 2 or 3 dogs in wheel position. They're the strongest. They're the ones that get that sled going. And when that command goes out to hop, 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 go, it's amazing. It's like that sled weighs nothing. They just start going. Next up is the team position. You run anywhere 4 to 6 dogs in team position. Their job is to keep the sled going, keep the pace, keep it going. None of the other dogs have to worry about how fast they're going. The team dogs have that covered. Next up, you have the point dogs. They're sometimes called the swing dogs because you can swing them into other positions. They have the most knowledge on the team. And their number one job is to help the lead dog in front. Help that lead dog with their knowledge. Hear the commands from the musher in case they miss something. Help that lead dog gauge the trail. Things like that. The point dog. Supporting. And finally, you have the lead dog up in front. Typically the most enthusiastic of their bunch. Their job is just to go, 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 go. See what's over the next horizon. They're the cheerleader. Of course, they can't get anywhere without the rest of the team. But they have that drive and ambition. And of course, they're listening to what the musher has to say, which way we're going, and they're gauging the trail. And you typically put one in lead, unless the going gets rough, and then you swing one of the point dogs up. Then you got 2. You don't take them out of lead when the going gets rough. You bring a point dog up so it can learn from the more experienced one. Now, I think you see where I'm going with all of this. Here I'm obsessed with the human term lead. I have to lead a team. I have to be in front of the team. No, I need to be the point dog. That's where I'm at. I need to support the team. So that's dogs. That's easy. How do you do it with people? Well, turn every position into a lead position. You know, the organization, this is the way I inherited it, with some sort of top-down structure. No, everybody knows what they're doing. Do that. Doesn't need much direction. Doesn't mean I'm not there to support. I am, in case things get difficult. Giving that kind of space for autonomy allows people to have mastery over what they're doing. And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. People become more engaged with their work. Think about it. People are happier, you have a higher output, and the work is of better quality. That's called operational efficiency. It's just one of the tenets. There are many other ways to achieve it. But I'm going to ask you this. What does it cost the institution to put this in play? And also think about it. What does it cost the institution if you don't put this type of management into play? Probably a lot. All right. My last thing is leading up. That's the art of talking to people way up the org chart. Now, you got to keep in mind, the further away somebody gets from you on the org chart, the less language you have in common work-wise with which you can talk. So you have to be careful in the way you deliver bad news, or you're going to overload them. They're not going to understand what you're saying. It's going to sound like bark, 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 bark. Right? And so it's similar, I guess, to the dog musher and the dogs. The dogs understand some commands from the musher. The musher understands some body language from the dogs and their sounds and things like that. So it's very similar. And if you're wondering if I have another dog story to give you, you bet I do. You bet I do, and it's one of my favorites. All right, here's the setup. I want you to, here's Mela on her skis and whatnot. I want to give you a sense of how big this is. Here she is on her skis behind the sled. Yes, you ski behind the sled. You do not ride the sled in the Arctic. It doesn't need the extra weight, and if you don't keep moving the whole time, you will freeze, literally. The sled, at 1,000 pounds plus, is 14 feet long. Now you got another 14 feet of line before those dogs start. And what we got, 5, 6 rows of dogs, tail to nose, they're taller than me. So what we're talking about is from where I'm standing right now to that far wall. That's how long we're talking. Add in the wind, the Arctic, the sound of that sled and your skis dragging on the ice. How does that dog in the front tell her there's something wrong? Hey, we got a problem. Here's how the story goes. She's in a similar situation, big sheet of sea ice, horizon as far as you can see. And they're going. She has GPS. She knows where we're going. And the dogs start pulling off to the left, off course. Okay, she gives the command. Everybody get back on course. Go to the right, go to the right. But they keep going to the left. Again, she calls out the commands. I'm translating. Go to the right, get on trail. Come on, come on, come on. It's all very enthusiastic when she calls out too. And she knows they hear her because their ears are moving, and as she calls, all their tails are wagging too, and they're even pulling a little harder, but they're all going to the left. They've actually communicated quite a bit of information to her right now. With their ears, they say, we hear you. With their tails going, they're saying, we're all in good spirits, everybody's good. And so therefore, also, she can also deduce all the equipment is fine, the lines are fine, the sled's fine, everything else is fine. She only has to solve for one variable now, because they've given her good information. What's wrong with going to the right? Now, if they had all stopped and started barking or whatnot, it could be 100 things that are wrong. No, they gave her base information, solve for the right. So she's going to ski on up, gets along with the lead dog there, and listens. Now that she's clear of the sled and everything, she can hear it. Off to the right, the ice is cracking. And the dogs heard it, and she couldn't. Don't worry. The dogs don't go through the ice. The way they're built with their giant paws and everything, they're fine. The sled's going to go through the ice, and anybody behind it. So good dogs. Good dogs. You saved her. So that's good. Putting into that play, think about it. When you need to tell somebody at the top something's going on, it's a mix of that, right? Your calmness, plus you're supporting the people at the top. You need to state what you can do succinctly, so they're only solving for one problem if they have to at all. So for example, real conversations I've had to have, and I think we've all done this before. Look, this morning the system went down. We're working on it. We think we're going to have it up by 10 a.m. Unfortunately, that means all the faculty profile pages aren't showing up right now. I'll let you know as soon as it's up. What does the person in charge have to solve for now? Well, she knows everybody's at work. She knows everybody's working on it. There's a timeline. She's got to wait for those calls from angry faculty that their pages aren't up. Talk about the sound of cracking sea ice, right? That's it. All right, so those are the 3 concepts. My takeaways I want to give with you today are, look, I didn't think I was ready. I didn't think I was ready at all. And also, you can find peers, mentors from unusual places. The sled dog musher, one of my peers. Another is a neighbor of mine that used to live across the street, who turns out she taught here at the Carlson School of Management. She was a wealth of information, and she was happy to take me under her wing because she felt I was a pretty lost cause. Nah, seriously, don't be afraid to ask people. You'd be amazed a lot of people want to help. Look into leadership programs at the university. I've been through some. They're really, really good, and they're meant to get you started before you're even a manager yet. So they're good. The time to start talking about it is now, too. It's never too soon to learn these skills. They're very helpful. One of the takeaways, too, is remember this guy early on the slide? His name's Goody. He can't even, how do you drink out of a water bowl, right? It was pretty good. He could have just walked up and stuck his head in. I don't know what he's thinking. Anyway, here he is 15 months later up in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. Grew up to be a giant guy, good puller, nice, calm demeanor. A year after this picture was taken, he became the alpha dog of the pack. True story. So, that's my story to share with you today. Your adventure is obviously going to be different, but there's 3 things I believe will hold true. The first is time's going to go a lot faster than you think it is. The second, the opportunity to lead is probably going to present itself around here when you least expect it. And the last is, if you're afraid to be a leader because you don't want to let down other people, I think you're exactly the right person for the job. My name's Jeff. You want to talk about this, sled dogs, sled cats, anything else, you let me know. I'm happy to. We all work for the same place. Thank you so much for letting me share my story with you.